by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful Friday afternoon in the great state of Arkansas. I am your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis. And fellas, it's Friday. We got the weekend to look forward to, but how are we feeling on this really hot but fun Friday?
Fresh look. Who dis?
Yeah.
You buried the lead. We look cool here.
Yeah,
I know.
Good.
I know. Like, I mean, it's almost like we're getting closer to being like, legit.
We're going places.
Yeah. It's been a full week, I guess, officially since our launch too.
Yeah, man, it has. This time last week, we were up here with our somber faces talking about how hard the last couple months have been, and look at us now.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
It's been a fun week. It really has been fun. I mean, because last week when we were, getting on that stream, just talking about the future and all that, we were like, man, it's just gonna be nice to get back into it. And it's been busy, it's been productive, and it's been a blast, man. Honestly, it's been a really fun week with this show, and I'm just excited for the future. Excited to watch this thing grow, man. It's been a lot of fun.
It has been. And once again, just before we get into all the good stuff, just want to say, of course, appreciate everybody who's liked and subscribed and read all of our stuff on InsideArkansas.com and everything, because it's really, we do it for you. We do it for fun and for us, but we also want to make sure that we're always putting out great content. So the support has been great. So we really appreciate all of you checking in and having some fun with us and talking about Razorbacks, especially fall camp, everyone's favorite topic, all the great things happening in fall camp. And today, guys, we got to hear from the new running back coach, Colby Smith, as well as a couple running backs, and we'll play some clips from that. But it's kind of interesting because Arkansas really pretty much the entire time under Sam Pittman, the running back rooms kind of stayed the same for the most part. I mean, I know that Rocket Sanders and AJ Green and even like Dominic Johnson, in 2021, those were kind of the guys. And then same in 2022 and then same in 2023. So you kind of had 3 straight years of the same running backs. Well, everyone's transferred pretty much, but now you have a new coach, you have a new offense, but you have pretty much a new running back room minus Rashad Dubinion. So I feel like in most cases, if something like that had to a position group, we'd be like, ooh, I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty. It's a lot of unknown. But I feel like extremely confident about the offense, about the running back room and the talent that they have, even though they pretty much lost everybody from last year.
Well, you almost let offensive line slip out of your mouth there, it sounded like. And yeah, I'll be as confident in the running back room as I am the offensive line, because we saw the talent that they had in the backfield last year, and it just didn't really matter because there was nowhere for them to go. But we feel pretty confident that they've upgraded that situation. It's going to be better up front. And yeah, man, they've got some talent in the running back room. And you're right. I mean, when you lose a guy like Rocket Sanders, even though he didn't have the year last year that everybody thought he would have, still is a dude who'd been really, really good for you. AJ Green was just Mr. Reliable in terms of, he's going to get a certain amount of carries, and every once in a while he's going to break off a good run, and then he's going to disappear. But they had just a rotation of guys that you grew accustomed to, and they're all gone outside of Dubinion. And yeah, that could be a little bit scary, but Jaquindon Jackson, according to you, John, is going to be a first-team All-American running back, so they're going to be just fine. And Braylon Russell is going to be the next freshman to pop. And I wrote that story yesterday, and a lot of people were talking about it, and that's definitely some camp Kool-Aid I think that I'm sipping. I'm big on Braylon Russell. That is a large human being. He's got some impressive thighs, for a young man there, but he just does not look like a dude that I would want to tackle and want to hit and want to meet in the hole. And if you want to talk about a running back room that's preaching be violent, that's a pretty good start. Guys like him and Jaquindon Jackson are some big, powerful dudes.
Yeah, I feel like running back, there's so many stars at the running back position. When you're a kid watching football, like running back is kind of the position. I mean, besides quarterback, that you're sitting there, you're like, oh man, that looks like a lot of fun. I'm fast. I'd like to do that. But I also feel like it's the position that's almost as dependent on its surrounding pieces as any other position on the field. And so I always think it's so funny when people try to analyze running backs without looking at the context. Like they're just like, oh, Rocket Sanders, he was really good 2 years ago, bad last year. Well, he started hating football. He got fat. Like what? It's like, or the rest of the team stunk, and you kind of were seeing the byproduct of that. And so, yeah, I think running back is one of those positions where, I think it's kind of a reflection of your team a little bit. And I think in a good running back can maybe not raise your floor, but it raises your ceiling. And so I'm interested to see what some of these backs can do, because I think they're going to be in a position where I'm not saying the offensive line is going to be the best in the country or night and day different or whatever, but it's certainly going to be improved from what we saw last year. And so I think we'll get to see what this team can actually do at the running back position. And man, Jaquindon Jackson is the one that we've been talking about him since spring. He's kind of emerged as the top guy. I am extremely confident in his ability, and I can't wait to watch him run. I think he's going to be a fan favorite. And I thought it was funny that the running back coach, Colby Smith, said he thinks he's the most violent runner in the room. I thought that was hilarious. And it wasn't, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't the most exhilarating press conference of all time, but I do like Colby Smith, and I think his personality is probably a good fit for that room. You mentioning that toughness and trying to instill that in the group. I think you can see that in this offseason.
Yeah, Colby Smith, he does seem kind of like a guy who can practice what he preaches, right? He kind of looks like a mean dude. I'm not gonna lie, and you're right. It wasn't like the most energetic, or whatever rah press conference there, but I don't know. Like, even when he was a man of few words on some of his responses, I listened to what he said. I wouldn't want that dude mad at me. So if he was telling me to be violent on the football field, I think I would do that. You mentioned Jaquindon Jackson. It's so funny because I remember distinctly bringing up a play that I remember from spring practice. I brought it up over and over and over, and we were doing Pot of That Nature in the spring. They were in shells, and Jaquindon Jackson goes right up the gut, and then Hudson Clark steps up to kind of meet him in the middle, and they weren't even going thuds. Like, the play was just blown dead. And I remember time and time again saying it's a good thing that those guys weren't live right then, because Hudson Clark would have gotten killed. He would have gotten murdered right then. And then there's a clip circulating of Jaquindon Jackson meeting Hudson Clark in the hole and just steamrolling him in practice the other day. So Jaquindon Jackson, not a dude that I want to get involved in a physical confrontation with, for sure.
Dude, like, and I mean this in the most complimentary way I ever could. I feel like Jaquindon Jackson has probably killed a man. Like, I mean, like, he is that guy where you just kind of see him and you're like, there's a lot going on, to where it's not just his physical presence, but like just the mentality that he has and the aggressiveness that he has. I kind of always compare it to, I think we've talked about this before, but like, I felt that way about like a Jalen Barford, a few years ago. I felt like Jalen was like, man, he's a guy that he's physical, like he's really there, but he's got some not only physical aggression, but also some mental aggression that he'll take out on you, and you'll be on the bad end of it every single time. And so that's where, the Jaquindon Jackson thing, and we've talked about it. I know you guys know it and you agree. It's like, I'm a huge fan of his. I think he's really going to be a difference maker on this team. And, I think that he might have been, we'll see how the season goes, might have been the biggest pickup in the transfer portal that Arkansas got in the impact that he have. But a few things, though, that we'll play a few clips, and there's a lot more from the players themselves and what happened, because we got a chance to not only catch up with Jaquindon Jackson and what he's going to be able to bring, but also Rodney Hill, which was kind of fascinating. A lot of people forget about him, transferred from Florida A&M. But we'll start with Colby Smith, and it's, I don't know, the violent thing was kind of the theme of today's press conference from him. So here's what he talked about.
Yes, we definitely have to be more dominant. That I need them to take great ownership in what we do at our position. And as I'm always say, we got to earn our respect daily. No one's going to give it to us. So when we're on the sideline, which is, I think, is the most violent running on that part of the field, we got to be violent with it, because sometimes the defenders, as they're coming to approach you, they may shy away from you. But what we're trying to do at that moment is send a message to the next team. Probably me when I turn the film on of my old clips.
So, yeah, that was.
I believe it too. I haven't watched this film. I believe it.
I do too. If he has to, like, whenever there's a pause, because he was asked about who the most violent runner is in the room, he pauses a little bit and is like, I'd say me. It's like, okay, yeah, he probably means that.
Yeah, a little crooked smile there. Yeah. I like that. I believe him.
Yeah, but when he says violent, I mean, coaches always come up with these, ways of describing things and these adjectives of just, be great, be #uncommon, all this stuff. But the violent thing, I kind of really enjoy, because usually when you think of violence in football, you think of the defense. You think of, hitting and getting after and being aggressive. But as a running back, there's a little shed to violence there too. And again, it's something to say. You got to show it. But I like that kind of aggressive mentality coming from where it's fitting for somebody like Quentin Jackson, like we just talked about, of being violent.
Yeah. I mean, if the theme of camp for the team has been, physicality and not getting out toughed like they did in some games the last couple of years, great. Yeah. Go out there and be violent. There's nothing that would irritate me more, at times in the past and sometimes, again, in fairness, it's a contextual thing. Like it wasn't always on the running back, but you get the handoff and then they're just dancing east to west and get dropped at the line of scrimmage. Some of those cliche terms I really like for running backs. Be violence, one of them. Getting downhill is another one. I like that as a basketball term too. But north to south and not east to west. Those things I like, especially, in the SEC. And it's the same stuff that we talked about with a lot of these guys. Jaquindon Jackson, I can't remember which one of you guys said it. Like he might not be the dude who breaks off, the big 80-yard runs and just leaves everybody. But the dude's going to fall forward. And he's going to be able to power through the line. And if you got third and short or whatever, he's a guy you can hand the rock to and move the chains. And I think they've got a number of guys like that. And he's right about just setting the tone, sending a message. If you hit somebody in the mouth, they're going to remember it the next play or the next week or the next time you see him, whenever. So I like it, man. It's a little bit of rah-rah camp stuff, but that's the kind of stuff that actually gets me going. I sip that Kool-Aid.
I like specifically that he mentioned near the sideline, like when you're kind of meeting the defender, because how often do you see that where regardless of which sideline you're on, if you're on the opposing sideline, obviously you're going to have some chirping coming your way and stuff like that, but it's a good time to be violent there. And then when you got your guys over there and you're running towards your sideline, if you smash that guy, like everybody's going to go nuts. Like I think back to 2016, Arkansas got hammered by LSU, but Devwah Whaley, who I guess at that point was a freshman, he broke off a long run and drove over Jamal Adams, who's now playing in the NFL, obviously. And I remember it lit up the entire sideline. Like everybody was going crazy, even though Arkansas got hammered in that game. But I just think about stuff like that. And I'm like, that's the kind of tone you want to set. And man, some of these Arkansas running backs, I mean, like Jaquindon Jackson and Braylon Russell in particular, would not want to meet them, like you said. Curtis, I know you wrote a story about Braylon Russell yesterday, and Sam Pittman referenced him as a big load. He's been saying that every single time he's talked about Braylon Russell, big load has been the term he's used. That's a big load coming at you now, or something like that. And I'm just like, man, what a perfect way to introduce him to Razorback Nation.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good descriptor, a good nickname to start your career with. And he seems like the type of guy that would lean into that too. That was something that Taylor Green talked about yesterday. How for a true freshman, that Braylon's kind of one of those guys who. He'll enter the room, he's there because he's got a big laugh and he's joking a lot, but he's also a guy who's not afraid to speak his mind and share his opinion. And a lot of times, freshmen walk in the room and they just kind of sit in the back and keep their mouth shut. But he's not that guy. And I think that's another part of the reason why we're starting to hear about him emerging and getting himself into the mix and the rotation there. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if big load is what I would have come up with, but I can't necessarily think of anything better. Like I said, that is a large man. And it's always easy, if there's a big guy who's at a skill position or whatever, say, no, he moves a lot faster than he looks or whatever, he's deceptively fast or quick. But it is true in this case. Like I have been impressed with the way he moves. He can catch the football out of the backfield for a guy his size. And yeah, I just think, chances are he's going to be a good at blocking, as a pass blocker too. So, yeah, why not, man? Maybe he's going to be that next freshman running back that really pops. I don't see why not.
He's 6'1", 253 pounds.
Big boy.
Is what he's listed as. I mean, that's
big, dude.
Like I just, and I start thinking about it in like my own way of like, okay, well, I'm like a little under 6 foot. So if I just add like an inch and a half to my height, but then gained about 50 pounds, like that's that. I mean, and it's not to say that he's not like just a sheer shredded muscle, but it's just I guess Pittman put it, he's just a load. He's just an absolute unit out there. Yeah. So he's massive, and that's kind of the thing where and talking about him and his aggressiveness. I think we've mentioned it, but like I want to see him be in that Cody Walker situation, like back in 2011, or just like really the goal line situation, short yardage situations. But when you talked about sidelines, breaking tackles, and all that, Dennis Johnson, a lot of people remember him, but like he was a 5'9" bowling ball who he always looked for contact. During that time, there was other great running backs that played, but like I'm hoping that maybe there's going to be, whether it's Jaquindon Jackson or one of these other running backs too, that look for contact. I like running backs that do that. It's almost a lost art because, you don't want to hurt yourself, but there's something demoralizing as a defensive player where if you're going to the sidelines, you're like, I'm just going to get this guy out of bounds, or whatever. And he just trucks the crap out of you. And suddenly it just throws your game off a little bit. Like that's that physical imposing thing where now you're going to think twice of squaring up against him. It just sets a tone. It sets a tone to where you're not just going to be running from anybody. You're not going to be running out of bounds to avoid contact. No, you're going to be embracing the contact and you want a lot more from it.
The other thing that Sam Pittman said about Brillian Russell yesterday was that he has a bad to the bone stiff arm.
Ooh.
Exact quote. I like that.
Ooh.
Well, everybody talks about like breaking tackles, making guys miss, which obviously you want to do. And that's like, a big part of being a running back. But a lot of times it's just falling forward, and I feel like that's one thing. If there's a knock on Rocket Sanders, who's as well-rounded as most running backs you've seen at the University of Arkansas, for his size, it didn't seem like he had that forward momentum or that balance to where he was always falling forward. It felt like when he was getting hit, that was kind of it right there. And a lot of times he's hard to hit because he's such a big athletic guy. But it didn't seem like he had that ability to kind of just fall forward to get those extra 2-3 yards. And I think Jaquindon Jackson, that's the thing that really sticks out is like he's hard to tackle. And even when you do tackle him, he's usually still moving forward, still getting those extra yards. And, I think his frame, we keep talking about how big these guys are, and they all are big. But Jaquindon Jackson's like 6'2", 6'3", and 235. Like he looks like an action figure, man. He's just a large human being. And so, man, and R-Dub is not a guy who physically imposing is not a way I would describe him, but I feel like he has the exact right skill set to kind of complement all these other pieces, and Rodney Hill as well. Can't wait to see exactly what he's got going on. I mean, Rodney Hill's a guy who actually played for Florida State last year. Not a ton. I think he had like 45, 50 carries. But a guy, if you can play on that offense, you can play just about anywhere. And so, I don't know if this Arkansas running back room is one that nationally people are like waiting to see what's going on or they're blown away by. But I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised by just how well-rounded this group is and how the skill sets all kind of go together.
Well, looking at from the violent perspective, we heard from Coach Colby Smith, and when he was talking about violence, now here is the running backs talking about being violent.
I mean, you seen the tape?
I'm just gonna say for myself, get my pads lower.
I just gotta have that mentality every play. But with me, I kind of already like try to do that, but I have to do it like when it comes into passing game too. So, but the most thing I've been working on is trying to change the direction. Like I've been trying to get my juking down a little bit better, stuff like this. So I won't be labeled as a power back because I don't really like that because I feel like I'm one dimensional, which I'm not. So.
Okay.
He didn't like being asked the question. He was like, bro, turn on the film, tape, bro. Turn on the tape, bro.
Yeah. Don't lie, baby.
Dude, like when I was watching the press conference and I heard it, and then like if you look at his eyes and just you see the tape, you watch the film, it like again, it goes back. This man has killed somebody. Like it's that way of the confidence and the swagger that he has, but it's not even like a hesitation. It's like that's who I am. That's what I do. And nobody's better at it than me. And it's one thing to say it, but when you have players that adapt into that same mentality too and fit that mold, it's what makes it extremely, I guess, dangerous for other teams, but also like kind of cool in a way of like, now I want to see him go out there like against UAPB on Thursday. I expect him to destroy somebody. Like I want to see him go out there and just, run through somebody. I mean, and I don't know. He is a very confident person, but he's also talking about and he hates apparently the power back. He does not want to be referred to as a power back. So
get those jukes down. I love it. Man.
What's crazy about Jaquindon Jackson is he hasn't even been playing running back full time for that long. I mean, we talked about his throw power on one of the shows this week, but I mean, he was legitimately the Utah backup quarterback as a redshirt freshman, and then he started mixing in at running back a little bit. But I mean, this is only his second year of being a full-time running back. And so, I mean, you feel like there's something, some potential that hasn't been scratched yet with this guy. I mean, I'm very intrigued, and I think he's one of the best kept secrets in college football, honestly.
I got to be honest, man. Like, for a full week now, I feel like I've done a really good job of just level head, not too high, not too low, not buying into anything.
Yep.
This is the first day. This is the first day where I'm really like,
10 win?
No, but
or some sugar on me. That's where you're at.
Everything that happens in camp, everything that's said in camp, I take it with a grain of salt. But this is the first day I can kind of feel it. Like I've got the itch a little bit. Like, oh man, I can't wait for this. I can't wait. I'm excited to see these guys. They might have something. This is the first day. I want to go on the record now and say that I held out for a week before I let it get to me. But I'm not gonna completely take the bait and get on the hook. I'm not. But if you want to get some sunshine and rainbows from Curtis about this football team, this might be the day.
Today's your day.
This might be the day. Yeah.
See, I'm going to be more of waiting with hearing from Petrino on Tuesday, because if he says some of the right things, man, my nipples will be so hard, my clothes will explode with excitement. Like, I will be so pumped up and fired up for that. Like, I can't wait. But yeah, it's like so there's that, and then there's a few other clips that, like, because let's be honest too, you got running backs, great and all that, but Taylon Green's going to be a part of the rushing attack with this team. And that's kind of the role that's just so interesting. You want to keep him healthy. You don't want him to run too much, but he's got a weapon with his legs. What was it, Andrew? He was a 91 speed on the college football video game. Like, he's got that. So we'll hear from both Colby Smith and also the players on the impact that Taylon Green can have in the rushing attack.
It's going to put a lot of pressure on the defense that we face. A lot of pressure, because not only do you have to worry about the runners in the backfield, but if he gets one-on-one and get open space, he has the long stride to get it in the end zone.
So there was Colby Smith talking about it, but, it opens up so much. I don't know how much if they'll do RPO or whatever, but you talk about those play action passes, man, that Petrino's known for and everything, where, they'll have some design runs like that. It could be potentially a very dangerous offense in the rushing attack, which we talk about passing, talk about wide receivers, talk about all these guys, but that's the type of element that we haven't really seen, at least not under Petrino at Arkansas, because he had Tyler Wilson, Ryan Mallett, not exactly they weren't, not to say that they weren't athletes, but they weren't having 91 speed on the video games, like not at all. But that's what's going to be fascinating, to see how Taylon Green's legs help out the running backs.
Yeah, the only issue I have is, like, all the fun stuff we talk about on these streams is Taylon Green and his athleticism, Jaquin Jackson, and these receivers, we really like the progress. We really haven't had that same excitement about the offensive line. Not to say that we don't think they're going to be good, but it's like we keep kind of overlooking that aspect, and they could be the foil in this whole big plan. If they don't really take that step forward. So I agree with everything we're saying. I think I fully believe that, like, Taylon Green's athleticism is going to put pressure, and I truly believe in all these running backs. I'm just curious to see if this O-line really is going to be up for it, because I think if they're even just average or like slightly above average, I really think Arkansas can lean on some teams a little bit. And especially with their tight ends and the way they use them, they can get in some of those big sets and still have some versatility there. I really am like, I kind of am bullish on a lot of pieces of this offense, but I'm just really curious to see if this offensive line is going to be up for that challenge to be that group that's really going to be able to do all these fun things.
Yeah, because you're right. If they are, average, slightly above average, it does unlock all those things that we're talking about. But yeah, in fairness, that offensive line has a long way to go to get from where they were to being average. Like, it was arguably the worst offensive line in power conference football last season. And so, yeah, we definitely, they're better. I'll tell you right now, they're better than they were last year. Yeah. How much? Because they do need to take a pretty sizable leap forward. And then, it does come down to health, man, and how much depth they have. Like Pittman said, and we talked about it yesterday, so I don't have to go too deep into it, but you think you're going to have Patrick Kutas back for the start of the season, but we're talking about a guy who you've moved all over the place on the line. throughout his time here. And now you feel like you're comfortable and you got him in a spot and he's developing chemistry with this new group. And then he misses all of camp and then he has a back injury. So it's just a red flag for me. And he's the youngest one. Yeah. And I like Amari Wiggins. And I like the Joe Moore guy and, you know, it's Tykeus Crawford. If you need to throw him in there, okay, fine. But automatically, the thing you were most excited about coming out of the spring was just the camaraderie and the continuity that you felt like this new group had, and they just haven't been practicing beside each other. And you got a guy like Nichols who's, you know, moving in and out from center to guard or whatever. And so you're moving guys around and it does impact that. So maybe they'll be at full strength for game one, but there's a possibility here because it's been shaken up in practice that it takes this offensive line a few weeks to kind of get back into a rhythm and back in sync with one another before they can really hit their stride.
Yeah, and you don't have time to waste either. I mean, I know you got UAPB and everything on a Thursday night, but you're going on the road to Oklahoma State in Stillwater, which, you know, that's going to be an electric atmosphere. Even though it's 11 a.m., it's going to be hot. It's going to be so hot.
Sold out.
Yeah, and yeah, it's going to be something over there in Stillwater. So you don't have time to just, you know, well, we got 3 warm-ups before we get into real serious play. It's like, no, you got to get it going really early. And
I didn't realize Oklahoma State was as good as they are projected to be as good as they are. I mean, they're top 20, top 25 team in most
They finished real strong last year. They started off weird. Like they lost to someone stupid last year.
Stephen F. Austin, I think, or something.
Yeah, like they had a couple, and then they almost lost to Missouri State with Bobby Petrino. I guess that was 2 years ago. But like they always start weird, and then they won like 7 of their last 8 or 9 or something like that. So they're kind of, nobody really knows what to make of them. I think there's a lot of variance there.
Yeah, that's the thing with them is because South Alabama. They got smoked by South Alabama at home, 33-7. Yeah, it was really, really strange of what happened. But that's kind of what Gundy and Oklahoma State's always been. I mean, they've had a couple good years where they've had 11 wins and whatnot. But most of the time, it's like they start weird and then they finish strong. They had 10 wins last year. I mean, it's crazy.
Did they go to the Big 12 title game or something?
That was
or was that?
No, yeah, they did. They played Texas.
It's like they lost to South Alabama and still won their division or whatever. Like that's nuts.
Yeah, the only other 2 conference games that they lost that year was at Iowa State and they lost at UCF.
Matt Campbell will get you.
Yeah,
Matt Campbell and Gus Malzahn.
Yeah,
that's right.
But here's the difference, and I know we're going to
Arkansas legends
about Oklahoma State though. But like, if you look at the games they won, they beat Kansas State by 7, but they also beat Oklahoma by 3. They beat Houston by 3, and they beat BYU in double overtime. So a lot of their games were really close too.
So they won those 1 possession games that Arkansas lost.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Their defense was good last year. I feel like their quarterback's at least 150 years old.
Yeah,
like he's
always
really old.
Again, it's a common theme over there at Oklahoma State. They have old quarterbacks.
They're running back.
They really do.
Yeah, they do.
Their running back's a problem.
Yeah, but going back to the offensive line, though, I thought this was an interesting quote from the 2 running backs, too, about the offensive line, and very complimentary from both Rodney as well as JJ.
They're going to be great. Their communication is what makes them great. They communicate through everything, on the field, off the field, and we got some dogs at them tackles. 5'4" and 5'5", some dogs at them tackles. And I feel like they're gonna be the heads of their front line. So we just the way they communicate, bro. The way they communicate and they carry themselves on and off the field, we gonna be better than last year. For sure.
And then the relationship we have with like everybody, like with the whole line, is like the key to it all. So like we all have a good relationship, in the locker room. We talking, laughing, all that. And we talking about serious stuff. Like when it's time to play ball, we talking about football and stuff like that. So we're gonna have a great O-line.
So very complimentary of the O-line, but 54 and 55 were the numbers that he was referencing, which is Keyshawn Blackstock at 54 and Fernando Carmona at 55. So like that's, I mean, again, I look at it. What was the tone? What was it saying? Like, oh, they're doing great, but like JJ almost lit up a little bit. He's like, those are dogs over there, man. Those are legit players. So
it sounds like a threat.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to be good.
Yeah, and that's like going back to your point, Curtis, of like they're going to be better. It's just how much better, how much improved. will they actually be? Is it going to be a top SEC offensive line, or are they just going to be decent enough? But they at least have made some changes and made some stretches here to try to improve it.
Yeah, I like that he called out, Blackstock and Carmona there, because those are, two of those new additions where I look at him and think, you know what, like those two guys got some stuff to them now. And I didn't know that I necessarily felt that right away. You guys remember when we were at Wright's Barbecue doing that show and all the offensive linemen were there. Mm-hmm. And I remember leaving and saying it's probably Andrew, but just like, these guys look big, seem like a bunch of good guys, but they seem like a bunch of good guys. Like I didn't know if I saw a lot of meanness in there.
They were buddies too.
They were, yeah. It was, yeah. Very, very tight knit, goofballs. And so I thought, okay, the chemistry is good there, but like, how mean are these dudes for the trenches in the SEC? And in spring ball, it was Carmona and Blackstock who started to really emerge to me as the guys who probably weren't going to take any crap off anybody, and that's what they need. So.
Yeah, and also worth noting, we're talking about Kool-Aid and where we're getting tomorrow is O-line day. We're going to hear from Eric Mateos and some of the O-linemen. So if maybe that's when we'll get our questions answered and we'll start to feel, because if they win me over tomorrow during that press conference, it's going to be really hard for me to get back on track and get back to a realistic, calm lens to view this football season through. If that offensive line, if you can guarantee me that they're going to be pretty good, I'm in, man. I'm in. The Kool-Aid is sipped.
Well, because we've been getting just two players. I'm wondering, I guess the two offensive linemen I'd want to hear from tomorrow. I know we don't really have a choice in the matter. But man, I'd really like to hear from Blackstock. I don't feel like we've learned much from him. And, I love Josh Braun and all. But I'm like, listen, I know we know what Josh Braun's about. Like we know about that.
We've heard enough from Josh Braun.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've heard good things from Josh Braun, but we've heard from him a lot.
Of course.
I bet they'll send Carmona for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll send, because I feel like you guys may remember this. He's mishandled some public appearances speaking into a microphone before. Like he said some things they didn't want him to say.
Who was that?
Blackstock.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, that was
I don't think they're gonna send him.
Yeah. For context, by the way, folks, like he was actually on the show that was before mine on 137 The Buzz, because he first committed to Arkansas, and he just came on and they were just like, hey, what made you choose Arkansas? Like kind of the common thing. And he's just like, man, he's like, they pay me the most NIL money. He's like, that's why I was looking. I was just trying to go wherever I could get the most money out of. It's like, all right. At least you're honest,
bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also really need to save Josh Braun for the post-loss press conferences, because he is going to be that guy for sure.
He's the new Dalton Wagner for sure. Yep. Dalton Wagner, bro, anytime they were like, all right, we don't know what to do, Dalton Wagner and KJ, go.
Yep. It was, and then Ricky Stromberg was that guy after Dalton. Like, every loss we're going to get Josh Braun and Hudson Clark.
Dalton, you just lost 49-3 to Auburn. How, what were your takeaways from the game? I think we're the best football team in the country, guys.
I was like, Wagner was a Kool-Aid guy, man. He'd be like, KJ, I've literally never seen a quarterback better than this guy before. Rocket, literally the best running back.
Cam Newton, Spam Newton. Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm hoping that we don't have that, because it gets repetitive and boring. But I understand why coaches do that too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you don't want somebody going out there is pissed off because they didn't get enough playing time or whatever and start losing their mind.
Well, and shout out to our guy Kyle. He's who makes these decisions. He's always just picking the least controversial option.
Strategic, yeah.
He hid Nudie McGlothern from us for like 3 years, man. It took us forever before they had him like chained up, like they wouldn't let him leave the house, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. Well,
we get laughed at when we asked for him.
Yeah, he's like, no, you don't want Nudie.
Oh gosh, yeah. See that, but who was it? Yeah. Well, I remember during Bielema was when I first kind of started covering the beat or whatever. It was like everyone always wanted Alex Collins, but I remember it was always an event if Alex Collins actually walked into the room, because it was like, oh man, what's going to happen and everything. But it was him, and then Sebastian Tretola, though, may have been the best quote guy of all time. Like that dude.
Carmona is the Tretola of this team. He's playing tackle, not guard. But I got those vibes from him in the spring, because Tretola was one of those guys, like he was a transfer, but as soon as he got to campus, he like asserted himself as a leader. I'm so glad you brought up his name, because I'd been kind of forgetting about that. But Carmona, they have a lot of similar vibes. So I think he's going to end up being that guy.
Yeah, hopefully Carmona throws a touchdown pass or whatever, and from the fake field goal, and like, yeah, because so Turtolo was always the guy that was like dancing on the field after a first down. Like he was just always a happy-go-lucky guy. So yeah, he'd be a big one. There is a couple other things though we'll talk about from the running back room and other things here in just a second. First, folks, I got to tell you about our friends over at Alumni Hall. Great people over there that always have the greatest apparel that you could possibly ask for when it comes to all things Razorback. I mean, they're conveniently located 3417 North College Avenue in Fayetteville. And so you can check them out for yourself. But hey, if you can't make it, if you're like, hey, it's too far away, I don't live around there, well, that's fine. Because if you go to their website, alumnihall.com, you can shop them online. You can have all the apparel delivered straight to your door. It's that simple. So get you ready for the football season. They got apparel for the men, women, and kids. They got the nicest of apparel, too, when it comes to Nike golf. They got Columbia. They got Peter Millar. They got Johnnie-O. They have it all. So check them out today. It's Alumni Hall at alumnihall.com. It is your ultimate Razorback shopping destination. Guys, also, I didn't know this, but I'll be honest, I haven't really done a whole lot of research into it itself. But the situation with Rodney, and it was a fascinating one. Rodney Hill, who he's transferred from Florida A&M, but he was originally at Florida State. And he's kind of a late addition, didn't really think much of it. But he had kind of an interesting story that I wanted to bring up because I had no idea about it. And apparently neither did Jaquindon Jackson, because he's like, I learned something new about it today. But here's kind of the journey that Rodney's been on in finding his way at Arkansas.
That situation, not many people know, but my parents was running my money and stuff like that. And my parents got a bad agent, and he was texting other schools like he was me. And so when they got back to the head coach, I had to leave Florida State. And during that time when I had to leave, I wasn't trying to leave. I didn't want to leave, so I just had to. And the portal was closing up, so Florida A&M was next door. So I just had to go there for a month. Yeah, find a new place. Yes, sir.
Like, I didn't know anything about that, but it's kind of crazy to think, a lot of these journeys that guys on with the transfer portal and NIL. Apparently his parents just got in with the wrong type of agent who was texting other schools acting like him. Man, that's an insane story for him.
That's tough. Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I didn't know about that either. And I hadn't heard that. I didn't listen to the players earlier this morning. So that's kind of crazy. I mean, good for him for getting out of that situation. I love how he's like, Florida A&M was next door, so I had to go there for like a month, but
he'll never forget his time there.
Yeah.
Well, dude, okay, it threw me off because like when he committed, I remember it being a thing where it was like Florida A&M, Florida State, but then I'm like, he was playing for Florida State like literally in December, and so I was like, hey, that kind of threw me off. I thought it was a typo on the ArkansasRazorbacks.com. I was like, why does it say he's coming from Florida A&M? Like he's clearly coming from Florida State.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently he technically transferred from Florida A&M.
That stuff happens probably way more than we know and then goes public. That's a big thing with basketball recruiting too, because everybody, especially now that NIL is a factor. I mean, the best players have agents, like legitimate, but a lot of them have handlers. And I use that term loosely because it'll be an AAU coach or somebody's uncle or whatever. Yeah. And they don't always have the kid's best intentions, in mind there. So that stuff can get really shady. Even like, if like a kid's coming to visit Arkansas or whatever, and you're just trying to get him for an interview to talk about it or something, you got to go through these handlers. And sometimes it's pretty straightforward. And they're just like, oh yeah, for sure, we'll get you set up. And then other times you can just tell, man, that it's shady. They'll be asking you for, oh yeah, well, if you run $100 through Venmo and we'll get you set up. Like, it's just, you just know that sometimes it's not really on the up and up, man. And so I can't imagine how often stuff like that actually happens and we don't really know about it.
Yeah. And especially like for someone like him, because he mentioned this also in the press conference too, where, he went to Florida A&M. He didn't even participate in spring. He apparently just he just worked out. Was just there using their facility because they were trying to figure stuff out. But, it is a crazy thing to go from a Florida State and then go to Florida A&M and then find your way at another SEC school where, a lot of cases may not have been. But it was so interesting hearing him say, he's like, I wasn't looking to leave. I didn't want to leave. I was wanting to stay. But because of those circumstances, he was having to leave. And so people may say there's like, oh, well, if you don't want to be here, that's not the point. Point is like, this is kind of a thing where I'm sure being motivated is one of his big factors of like, dude, it's like my life got turned upside down and I'm getting a fresh start, a second start, and trusting the wrong people with their money and with their, their business and their company and all that stuff. It's, it happens a lot. It happens a lot here in this day and age.
Yeah. And I think it's just a lesson for everyone. If you want to comment on things like, look, I get it. You love your team or whatever. And so when players leave or whatever, and you want to have your comment, but the people that assume they know what the hell they're talking about, and they'll just be like, oh, this kid left because of this. And this kid left. Like, we are very close to the team and we don't know most of the time. You know what I mean? Like, you hear 17 different things. And so I think it's just a lesson that if you want to comment on players' decisions and what they're doing, especially in this day and age, just don't, like, I understand if you want to discuss the impact of it and all that, but yeah, you just never know what's going on. And it's the wild, wild west these days, man, with NIL, with the way these people are handling their rosters, kids getting processed and all that. I mean, there's not like, it's no longer the days of like, oh, I'm just transferring because I want to play more, or I don't like the coach or whatever. There's so many reasons why these guys are moving around all over the country.
Yep.
Yeah. I just, I hate that for him, but he's like, luckily he gets another chance at it too. Because I guess his only running back is Jaquinton Jackson. He's the one that's out of eligibility. I think all of them can still, because we had Rashad Dubinion's a junior, Rodney Hill's a redshirt sophomore technically, and which I guess that kind of leads to another question: how many running backs do we see actually get legitimate play this year? 3? You think any more than 3?
I want to say 2.5 really, because I think it's going to be mainly a 2-horse thing, and then there will be a third guy that gets carries, but I feel like once it gets down to like the real games, they're not going to rotate that many. But I don't know. Who knows? Injuries.
I think 3, but I agree that it's going to be a 2.5 thing. I just wonder if it's going to shift throughout the course of the season. Like, I wonder if it's going to be Jackson and Dubinion with Braylon Russell sprinkled in. And then by the end of the year, if it's Jackson and Russell with Dubinion more sprinkled in.
Yeah, because the mention of the name Tyrell Reed, running back he was from Hutchinson Community College. Every time I hear that name, I don't know if you remember it, Curtis, but do you remember the basketball player for Kansas was named Tyrell Reed? I felt like he was there for 6 years.
Sounds familiar. Yeah, that sounds like a familiar name.
Him and Morningstar played together at Kansas.
Brady Morningstar. Yeah.
Barry Ellis on that team too. He was on a lot of Kansas teams.
Probably so. I actually legit think Hunter Mickelson was on that Kansas team. Like, I legitimately think so. Yeah, a lot of big names there, but still, they got a few guys that who knows, we may see that we just don't know much about. But they at least have some depth there as long as they stay healthy in the running back room as well. Let's see. Also, there was one more clip I wanted to play about from the running backs that I thought was pretty fascinating. I want to go through. Oh, yeah. So this is kind of a cool thing where the running backs, all the guys, they know each other. At least the big 3. This is kind of interesting.
I knew R-Dub because he's from Atlanta and I'm from Georgia also. So he went to Cedar Grove and I went to school in Statesboro. And I used to come up there to 707 camps at Georgia Tech. And that's how I met R-Dub and stuff like that. And I knew JJ just through like college and then him going to Duncanville. And I played with some of his teammates at Florida State.
Because that was one of the reasons why Rodney decided to come to Arkansas too, because he knew the running back room, because he knew these 2 guys. And it's just so funny where you guys playing on. I mean, you have Jaquinton Jackson over in Utah, and you have this guy in Florida. You got Rashad Dubinion at Arkansas, but yet they all know each other and play together too. Which a lot of times we maybe not factor that in where we talk about what they get in NIL, what they getting for this, that, and the other. But it's sometimes who do you know and who you're comfortable with, and it seemed like that probably played a factor into it too.
Yeah, man, connections matter. It's all about who you know in this world.
Yep,
they say.
Apparently.
By the way, shout out Rashad Dubinion. You talk about people who transfer a lot. Who hates the transfer portal?
He does.
Rashad Dubinion.
Yeah,
he's an anti-transfer portal guy, and I mean, credit to him, man. Because I mean, Jimmy Smith's his guy, obviously. So nobody would have like faulted him if he had gone with Jimmy Smith to TCU, but he was like, hate the transfer portal.
That's just a sidebar question since we're talking about the transfer portal. Who under the Sam Pittman era, at least when the transfer portal has been a thing, who was the biggest shock of a transfer to go out leave Arkansas? Like, who's the biggest?
Michael Woods. That was
a
crazy in the moment.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's an easy answer then.
That was nuts, man.
Yeah. Was it
Which now, if that happened, like it wouldn't really we really wouldn't bat an eye. But in that time, it was like it was big time. That was like back when we were so naive. We were like, wow, did Oklahoma contact him before he entered the portal?
This is tampering.
I mean, clutching our pearls over it. Now it's
outrageous.
Like, hey, got a bag. All right.
Yeah, like because that was, I think it was 2 days after the spring game where he caught like 3 touchdown passes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a tough one, man.
Yeah, because he did the YouTube channel. Was it Woodsville or Woodville or something?
Yeah, I used to love Michael Woods.
Yeah, it was that was crazy. Yeah, so that was a big one too. I guess another one that, I mean, I don't know if it was shocking or not, but still, like Chris Paul leaving, I thought was a little surprising. For that, because Arkansas has had a knack, unfortunately. They have a knack for their team captains transferring out.
Yeah.
That
one wasn't surprising when it happened.
No.
But I think that's another like notable one.
Yeah.
I will say Fouché and Brooks.
That was one I was going to bring up.
Like, it was pretty stunning where it was just like, oh, wait a minute. Because I remember I had a story written that was like prepared for if Joe Fouché decided to declare for the draft. Mm-hmm. And then it was like, no, he's not declaring for the draft. Oh, he's going to LSU. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I mean, in terms of like notables, there were a lot of them this past season. I mean, KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders, under normal circumstances, that would be like, holy crap, that's crazy. But given the circumstances of the team and the season and what the heck is going on with Pittman, I can't really take a lot of stock into any of those moves that were made this past year. But under any other circumstances, we would have been looking at that going, holy cow.
Yeah. Well, and that's like
crazy?
even
I was just gonna say, isn't it crazy that Arkansas is replacing the school's all-time leader in passing yards and touchdowns? And not only are we not really worried about it, it's not even a thing we've talked about like at all. Like we don't talk about like, oh, what, like how are they going to do that? And because like to your point, like it wasn't the most stunning move of all time.
Right.
No. In fact, it's one of those moves that was probably like, I'm going to make this comparison. I'm sure people are going to yell at me. It's kind of like the Devo Davis thing where it's like, listen, you did a lot of great things, but it's probably best for everybody if it just moves on from each other, where it's not, there may be some people that have negative feelings towards KJ Jefferson or negative feelings towards Devo or whatever. But when you have some changes, it's like you had some real success, you had some good years, but it just feels like it's run its course and it's time to separate. So, because I don't think anybody, like if KJ would have had, well, because what was his best season? I guess was it 2021 or 2022? Statistically, I think it was probably close.
I think it was a little bit better in 22.
Okay,
so say it was better.
If it was after that,
that would have been big.
Or even 2021, we could use that example since the team was actually good and won 9 games. Like if he would have left after that, everyone would have been like, oh, there's no telling what type of stuff would have been thrown around. But
yeah, he would have been public enemy number 1. And I will say, Hog fans do not like KJ. Like the vibe I've gotten, just if our comments are any indication, they don't. But yeah, he would have definitely been like unanimous hatred, which he's not now. And frankly, I don't think he should be.
No, it's just, I don't know. It's people. It's like you always, go through this fine line of, saying something about someone's personality or their whatever, because we don't know them. But the vibe I always got, for at least from Razorback fans, and maybe why, is KJ just never seemed to be like if you followed him on social media, for instance, there was never anything about Razorbacks or about football or about the state, or like it was always about his cars and everything, which is fine. It's fine, but
everything is a loaded term, John.
Snapchat
was some of the funniest content ever. But you're right. You would not, if you just followed him on Snapchat with no context, you would have never guessed SEC quarterback at Arkansas.
No. And if you did follow him in certain ways, I guess you probably would have seen a lot of content.
Oh man.
But it was also too, like my favorite thing every year with KJ was like him coming into fall camp and just being about 20 pounds overweight. It wasn't muscle, and it was like they had to slim him down every single time. And
when he got arrested last year, he was 266. Is that right?
Yes.
And that was in July, August.
I think it was even earlier. Wasn't it in like the spring when it happened? I could be
Maybe,
wrong.
I don't
Maybe
know.
late spring. Yeah. Or maybe like right after spring when he came back to do whatever he had to do. Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy. But yeah, there's just going to be it. Sometimes if you come off a 4-8 season, I think fans look at almost everybody as expendable, where it's kind of like, hey,
which fair.
Yeah. It's like you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, when you got Taylon Green, you got Bobby Petrino, you got all of that. It's going to be all right. Okay, we'll have an Arkansas update later, but I wanted to do this as part of our poll question for today because it's pretty lame, but I don't care. We all know that the best running back group that Arkansas's had is McFadden, Jones, and Hillis. It's 100%. But as far as this century goes, because that's what we've all been kind of covering, who is the second best running back room that Arkansas's had that when it comes to mind that you could think of?
So this century, so we're going since 2000.
Right.
I still think I'm going to go Alex Collins, Jonathan Williams, which now 2015, we didn't get to see him together because Jay Will broke his ankle. But still, that 2014 year, I think they both ran for 1,000 yards. I think they did it back-to-back years, actually. 2013 and 2014, back-to-back 2,000-yard rushers, two guys that played in the NFL. You also had Cody Walker on those teams. Like, I think that those are pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because that was the thing. Is like Corliss Marshall was also a player I thought was really good. Just couldn't stay on the team. But yeah,
he now runs the College Hunks moving company thing. You ever seen those times? Yeah, he works for them.
Okay, well there you go. Well, yeah, you like, and here's the thing too is like sometimes it was just like a certain year where maybe the player wasn't at their best. But I think back like 2012 and the John L. Smith year, dude. Like you had Niall Davis, Dennis Johnson, Ronnie Wingo, and Jonathan Williams. Those were your 4 running backs. And so it's like,
and it was a horrible team.
Yes. And they were just so bad. But yeah, I think back to them. And then I think even, I'm trying to think the year with Raleigh Williams when he had over 1,000 yards. I was trying to remember the other running backs.
Devois was a freshman that year, and he had he looked really good. Like at that point in time, you could have made a pretty good argument because like Devois was a big time 4-star guy. Did Cedric Cobbs? We're getting deep into the weeds here. Did Cedric Cobbs have anybody next to him?
Fred Talley.
Fred Talley was okay. I didn't know how much overlap there was. And then like Peyton Hillis as a freshman was kind of almost in that same little window.
Yeah, it was him and for Peyton Hillis, it was him and Dearius Howard. Was at the running back spot, and yeah, I know like we've done a lot of deep dives and deep cuts in there too. But I don't know, it's just funny because like anytime you ask like questions like this, if you almost have to do the second best because I'm like, oh, McFadden, Jones, and Hillis. It's like yeah, I know, true,
Congrats.
True, yeah, it's gonna be that. But
no love for Michael Smith, huh? We just passed our 21 days countdown.
That's true. I guess
went through all this and nobody mentioned Rakeem Boyd.
The Dream, Rakeem the Dream, him and Duval Whaley.
That's right,
Wally. Man, because he didn't have 1,000 yards though, right? Rakeem Boyd did not, right?
He did. He had 1,000-yard year.
He did have 1,000 yards.
Not his last year, but 2019, yeah.
Dude,
on a 2-10 team, he ran for 1,000 yards.
Yeah,
dude, his last year, which was Pittman's first year, I think it got to the point where everyone's like, "All right, buddy, we're about done with you. Like you just need to move on."
That was when Traylon Smith became a de facto fan favorite.
That's right.
And then people saw too much of Traylon Smith, and they were like, "Actually, we don't like him this much."
Yeah. Well, then
realized that despite the way he looked, he actually wasn't that fast.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the slowest scat back of all time.
He's unreal, man.
Yeah. Like, yeah, he was the guy that in his first, I guess in 2021 in the beginning, he was like, oh, he's the main running back. And then Rocket and Dominic Johnson, who actually had a good year that year. And
I mean, 2021, you can make an argument for him. He had 5 guys run for 500 yards or whatever. Like it wasn't bad. I mean, Rocket obviously was on that team. AJ Green's a good running back. Like,
yeah. It's top 5.
I won't make the argument, but someone can.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was halfway expecting people, and we'll get to some of the comments in the chat and everything. But I was halfway expecting people to be like bringing up like that. He's like, Gary Anderson. Like, what are you doing? It's like
Gary Anderson.
Since 2000. All right. Since 2000. It's like you could do Madre Hill and Chris Chikuma if you wanted to. Like really going back into the
Lance
day.
Allworth was running the ball back in the day too. I mean,
he's doing it all. Playing quarterback, wide receiver, all of that. Yeah, he's doing that. So, but yeah, I don't know. The reason I brought it up is because I was like looking at this running back room, not saying it's going to be the best, not saying it'll be the second best, but like Could it be potentially like rank and do well? I don't know. So. Okay, something happened in the chat. Is that why I got mentioned?
Just someone commented Basil.
David Basil.
I don't know why that got me, man.
It just made me laugh, dude.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, he was a linebacker, but yes.
I was gonna say, I don't think he ran the ball, but
Yeah.
I don't know why that was so funny.
I made eye contact with Curtis through the screen too, and that's what it made me laugh.
Oh goodness. Okay.
Shout out to
The thing is, like, anytime I see y'all laughing, because I don't pay attention to the chat much until I see the chat and like actually go to look at it. But whenever I see you guys laughing, I'm like, okay, it's either something that we can't say but's in the chat, or it's something that was really funny, and then I got to sift through and be like, okay, so I'm gonna try to guess which comment it was,
or it's Dracula flow,
or Dracula flow that I have no idea like what still to this day. But anyways, thank you, Chase, for
providing the giggle,
providing the situation with David Basil. So let's get to some of your chats here for a little bit, and let's see. Well, Leslie, I think we already talked about this one. What question is top dog at running back this year? It's going to be Jaquindon Jackson.
JJ.
Yeah, it's not even close. Fullback position. They do have a fullback. They have ran I formation.
Yeah, I mean, it is something.
Do we know who the fullback is?
I think they would just use like an H-back, kind of like a Posky or someone like that, or maybe just have. Honestly,
they do have a fullback.
Petrino, if you're listening, low key, you might need to just throw like Haz or someone in there at fullback and kind of line up that way, and then people won't realize. Oh yeah, you can slip them out. Little fullback wheel. What do you think?
There we go.
I'm a fullback wheel with Varkey's gums. What are we thinking here?
It's a little weird.
According to the roster, they do have one fullback at number 41. His name is Kyle Thompson. He's 6'3", 262. So good size. Yeah, and he's from Alito, Texas.
There we go.
By the way,
that's all I got.
We've referenced the video game a lot on this show. Not today as much, but Eli Stein, the long snapper, they have him just because like they have to have a position. They don't have a long snapper on the game, so they have him as a like 52 overall tight end. Maybe you throw Eli Stein at fullback.
Yeah, well, like first of all, I mean, again, go on a tangent here, but like, dude, why do they not have a long snapper position on the video game? They can do whatever they want for the video game. Like, I don't understand.
No, and at this point, like long snapper is its own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to high school with a guy who called himself Long Snap Nation, and he was like trying to get recruited to do long snapping. He ended up going to Louisiana College D3, but he was like, his Twitter name was Long Snap Nation, and he was like trying to like shoehorn the movement, and frankly, I think it worked.
Dude, one of my good friends was the long snapper for Arkansas in the Petrino era. My buddy Nick Brewer, like he the biggest head you'll ever see. Like in fact, a little quick side story. After that Kobe Hamilton before halftime touchdown against LSU, they had to run down and everyone's going crazy, it's going wild. And he has to do the long snap, and forgot who the big LSU defensive lineman that was like drafted first round in the NFL on that year's team. But anyways, he was out of breath because he had been running. And, Nick Brewer goes up there to snap it, and the guy just goes, I'll clean it up. But he basically said, man, white boy, you got a big old head on you. And then everyone started laughing. And was like, he's like, that was his moment. He gets to go out there and just do the snap, and he gets made fun of for his head. So,
by the way, shout out to our guy Leslie, who says that, is asked the fullback question and is saying we definitely need a good fullback. Sounds like Leslie is like binge watching the sport of football and has not quite gotten to like the mid 2000s yet.
Yes.
Still on like 2003, like, God, we need a fullback. We need a fullback. Like, wait a minute.
You need your Mark Pierce, your Kiero Small.
Yeah.
Those are really the only fullbacks like I think could come to mind that are actually like were legit fullbacks. Were those guys?
I mean, Peyton Hillis was technically kind of a fullback at Arkansas.
He was just a guy that could literally play any position. Like that was his thing.
I remember Jacob Hester at LSU back in the day. It was like same era as Peyton Hillis.
Yeah, was he fullback?
He was like the last cool fullback.
Yeah, was he fullback?
He was Hillis kind of where he would like running back and fullback a little bit. But
now he's doing a radio show every morning with T-Bob A. Bear.
Yeah,
good people over there. Let's see. Cody says, I love Braylon Russell as much as the next guy, but we still got a lot of work to do in recruiting on the offensive line to fulfill his potential.
Fair.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Cannot argue with that.
You would like to think that in the next 3-4 years with Braylon Russell, one of those O-lines are going to be really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
You would think. Caden says, I wish the UAPB game was on Saturday. No.
Disagree. Strong disagree.
I have never been happier to see a game get put on a Thursday because, folks, you get to enjoy your Labor Day weekend.
I can't wait.
It's going to be the best. Like, you get a Thursday game, and then we get to talk about it all on Friday. And then we got Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to just watch great football and hang out. Like that. Now, I can understand if it was like you were playing Texas on a Thursday, but it's it's the greatest.
You get the troops ready for week 2 also. That's a huge advantage.
That's right. That's right. That extra couple days.
Does Inside Arkansas observe Labor Day?
It depends on what you define as observe.
We're going to just take that Monday off?
Well, yeah. Dude, yeah, we're going to record ourselves like we're live and we're not, and then just make it look like that.
Yeah.
So, because no one will know the difference.
Celebrate the labor.
Yeah. Let's see. Our guy Hayden says, week 0 in 15 days. Cannot wait to try and dig myself out of a gambling hole by betting the over on Delaware State and Hawaii.
Yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun. The week 0 slate kind of stinks this year, but we'll make it work.
Yeah, we'll find a way.
It's never that good now that I really think about it, but those games will be bet.
Yeah, and they will be watched. And also, it's a different Hayden here, but he says, question for the boys. What's y'all's thoughts on Petrino's time at Texas A&M? It was such a big splash of a hire, but nothing remarkably good or bad stands out to me in his year there.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about that a little bit yesterday, but it just, you almost have to throw it out. I feel like, I mean, Petrino was there, but those weren't his fingerprints on that offense, man. I mean, he was handcuffed. He was limited in the influence that he had in the final decision making. We all know that. So, and they lost their freaking, what appeared to be at the time, a generational quarterback early in the season. And that didn't help things either. So yeah, I'm more excited about the situation at Arkansas because it's going to be his baby. Mm-hmm. Sam can't tell him nothing.
I don't think there's much to take from it, frankly. I think you have the right point of view there, Hayden. Because I mean, I think Petrino would probably tell you that. I don't think he was super. I don't think he hated it or anything, but I don't think it was fully like him getting the keys and doing what he wanted to do.
No, I think he even said that as much in his like press conference when he was hired. Is like they basically told me I had to learn their terminology. He was talking about how he was up all night before the game and like had to relearn all this stuff and everything. So yeah, that's the one like thing where I feel like with Petrino and the Pittman thing, it might actually work because Pittman truly is like, here you go, do whatever you need to do, just do offense over here. Like so, that's a good thing. But yeah, was it Connor Wigman? Was that the guy that was a A&M quarterback that got hurt?
5-star.
Yeah, and then I don't know how much better they would have been. But here's the thing: is like A&M went from being, I think they're like 100 and something in total offense, and then the next year with being under Petrino and even with losing their quarterback early in the year, they still ended up being like in the 40s in total offense. So take that for what it's worth. Let's see. Also, Justin says, "Goat show. Glad y'all are back." Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, we're glad we're back too.
Glad to be back, no doubt.
Good to be back. And then also, Kingsley says, Thursday night has its advantages, but as a native Literakian, it does kind of suck that it's not on the weekend. Plus, we won't be able to come home for the game on a weekday. I mean, I get it. I mean,
that is the sucky part. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like you're never going to make it perfect, but I don't know. I look at it as if, it's the game in Little Rock. It's against UAPB, and say what you want about it, but you're really going to be the only game on that night in the SEC, if I'm not mistaken. So
ESPNU.
Yeah, they loved it so much they put on ESPNU. So at least it's not on the stream, like being live streamed on ESPN Plus, and then everyone's just pissed. It's like, I don't have ESPN Plus. It's like, well, do you have ESPN? Yeah. Then you can watch the game on ESPN Plus or ESPN 3 or whatever they call it these days. They've changed their name so much.
I think the fact that no other games are on is really the appeal for just like a national awareness. Because I mean, like if that game were on Saturday, literally nobody outside of the state of Arkansas would even know that game happened.
No, Well, plus after how freaking hot it was last year, the fact that you can do it at night now is another positive. Don't need people running because it's like there's a difference between running out of water at a football game and running out of water at a football game at War Memorial Stadium. There's a big difference, and that's the worst. But everyone's mad about the tailgating and stuff. I'm like, you can still tailgate on Saturday. You can still just go over
golf
there.
Course, you can just go there anytime.
Yeah. It's no longer a golf course, Andrew. It's no longer a golf course. So, but it always will be to us. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into your Arkansas update presented by Davis and Garrett Insurance, your independent auto owners insurance agency, securing what matters the most. Go see my boy Clayton over there. He'll get you all taken care of. We've talked a lot about the Arkansas stuff, but Curtis, I wanted you to kind of chime in on this because you do know ball. But Joe Tipton, it got tagged in the tweet that you have 5-star Koa Pete. Looks like he's going to be making a visit to Arkansas here soon.
Yeah, how about that? And I saw Cody in the chat earlier ask for a breakdown on some of those 2025 guys. Spoiler alert, if you tune in to the Locked On Razorback Potted Palace edition that comes out at 7 o'clock tonight, you're going to hear about a bunch of 2025 guys, but not Koa Pete, because we pre-recorded it, and then surely the day we wake up and get ready to publish that thing, it comes out that Koa Pete's going to visit. But just another 5-star, that Arkansas is on. That's not a surprise. That's the type of big game hunting that John Calipari does. Koa Pete is very good. 6'8", power forward, kind of a hybrid guy though. And they're going to get him in on a visit. And that's coming soon, September 14th. So not too far removed from that. As far as Arkansas's chances in the mix, probably not the leader. I've heard a lot of Arizona buzz about him. I think Baylor is a school that could really get into the mix there too. But then obviously Arkansas. Here's the thing with Cal. He does not cast that wide net, man, like Eric Musselman did. If he's recruiting you, if he offers you, it means something. If he gets you on campus for a visit, they're serious about you. And he's got a really high close rate. So I think it's something to keep an eye on, and then one that we'll probably want to revisit and see how much Arkansas's chances increase after that visit, because he's usually pretty good at selling things and closing the deals on the guys that he wants. Now, I don't know if he would take him and Caleb Wilson, for example, who's the other 5-star at the same position that Arkansas is in the driver's seat for. I don't know if it's a one or the other or both kind of deal if he's trying to take 4 guys. But we'll just have to see how it plays out. Good stuff, though. Really good stuff.
Yeah, it's just nice to see like that being a normal thing. Like, any other time in history, a 5-star top 5 player in the class taking an official visit would be like just the most insane thing ever.
Nick Smith's visit, it was like everybody was stalking him, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. But now it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, well, that's great. He's interested in? Yeah, it's like I already think he's coming to Arkansas. I'm got my crystal ball, and I'm leaning about 83% Arkansas at this point.
There you go.
Speaking of
in the ball, yeah.
Speaking of Arkansas basketball, and we're doing the Arkansas update, we got to give a shout out to Razorback legend Jalen Graham, who signed he signed with the Bora Basketball Club in Kosovo.
Heck yeah!
Hashtag Pro Hogs.
Kosovo is beautiful this time of year
in Yugoslavia.
Right. Yeah. I got that message today from a former staff member. So give our man JG a shout out.
That is nice.
I expect 1,000-word written article on that today.
Done.
For updating the Arkansans, I have 2 nice little updates for you. One, the first is for you 2 boys. The bag has been secured. I just got a text like 2 minutes ago. Those are ours. Those are the years that are ours. Shout out to JT Hazelwood, who came through with the bag for that one.
Let's go.
So thanks. I look forward to delivering those to y'all and trying them out.
Lovely.
The can really is beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful can.
It's nice looking.
Secondly, anybody watch any NFL preseason action last night? I happened to literally be tuning in right as Dietrich Wise recorded a sack on the Patriots' first possession. But Jake Bates, the kicker who we've been talking about here lately, hit a 53-yarder for the Lions, just nailed it.
What is it?
There'll be some more Arkansas preseason action, but
dude, okay, sorry, but going on that note, what is it with Arkansas not having the kickers that they should have playing? Like, because you remember the guy that, and now his name just escaped me, but he played for the Dallas Cowboys as a kicker just like a few years ago. He went to Oklahoma State. He grew up a Razorback fan, wanted to go to Arkansas, and like Houston Nutt was like, "No, we don't need you." And his name's it's gonna kill me. But
was he a good one or a bad one
for the Cowboys?
For the Cowboys, was he the one that missed all those ones? Or
I don't think so. I think he was like he had like Dan Bailey.
Dan Bailey, yeah, he was very good.
That's him. Yeah. So he apparently wanted to go to Arkansas and tried to walk on at Arkansas, and he was told no. And then, so between that and then Bates, because Bates actually played, but I don't remember anything that he ever did. And so now he's just killing it. It's like, what the heck? Kickers just get better when they leave Arkansas, it seems like.
He did. There's so many famous stories of people that were, dying to come to Arkansas that didn't come to Arkansas. I mean, that team, you can make a team full of those. I mean, the Isaiah Simmons, the Spencer Rattler, Dan Bailey kicking. I mean, just so many.
The Spencer Rattler one, I don't know if I buy that.
I don't buy it either.
Yeah. I remember hearing that. I'm like, I was like so pissed off at that. So they like reading into it. I'm like, I don't know this. I don't think so. I don't think that's actually a real thing. And he didn't get drafted, did he? Or did he get drafted in the NFL?
I think he got drafted by the Saints.
Yeah.
He's definitely with the Saints and apparently doing pretty decent. I guess we'll find out this weekend as he's in NFL preseason action.
That's right. Hogball Burner wants to know, do you expect Muss to have a slideshow of Pro Hogs pregame at USC?
Nah. He's hashtag Trojans now. What do we think about that?
It's awful.
I don't like it. Did you see that he said Trey Wade was the grittiest Razorback he coached?
I would probably agree with that.
I agree with it too, but I knew, and I figured he would say that. Like if you would have asked me who he would say, I would have probably been like, I bet he'll throw Trey Wade a bone there. But
are we allowed to talk about this? If I ask the question, who do you think Muss' least favorite player was at Arkansas? Can we ask that?
Vance Jackson would have to be up there, right?
Yeah, Vegas Vance would be pretty high on that list.
Think Chris likes maybe?
Yeah.
Potentially, but he does like FTAs and he likes FTMs too. And Chris did that a little bit, so maybe he gave him a little bit of something. But
you could take your pick about anyone on this last year's roster.
Shoot, man.
Yeah. Well, there's obviously also like players that played a lot and were good that I still don't think he liked. And I think Ricky Council might be on that list. I think he and Ricky obviously they had a mutually beneficial relationship. It's like every time we would talk to Muss about Ricky, you got weird vibes. Every time you talk to Ricky about Muss, you'd get weird vibes. It was like a little weird there, but I mean, obviously he was a good player.
Yeah. So, and then on the opposite side, would you say it? Because I feel like Anthony Black had to be his favorite player, right?
He's up there for sure.
I feel like that dude did more press conferences.
I feel like JD Note, though. JD Note might be the guy.
He loved him some Mason.
Yep. Even though I remember that first year, I thought they hated each other because I'm like, oh man, they're getting after each other, and then it's like once you've kind out, it's like how Muss operates.
Muss loves that stuff, man. Yeah.
I mean, and as he should. I mean, Mason Jones, amazing.
Jalen Williams, interestingly enough, was probably very high on that list for a while, but I don't know that was the case at the end when he was doing the stay or go thing. So
yeah, I forgot about that.
That got weird.
Yeah, because I see the one I think about is freaking Isaiah Joe. When
you think Muss holds that against Isaiah?
I would. I do. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Ooh, Kingsley says Desi Sills might be up there too. It's like, ooh,
well,
certified bucket, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and KK Robinson. Not high on Muss's list of favorite folks.
No, I wouldn't.
Well, he just wasn't a good basketball player, and that
was the thing with KK.
So
yeah, like I don't know. It is going to be like, no, Kurz, you're going to be doing mainly basketball too, but I feel like it's just going to be nice not having to wonder about drama and stuff as much as it's felt like, especially this past year. But it seemed like every year, even when it was good, there was always these really random, like, this is what I heard happened, and so-and-so got mad at so-and-so, whether it was in the coaching staff or in the locker room. I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh, I tell you, somebody who was very high on that list of who he probably didn't like, Chance Moore.
Really?
Yeah. He lived inside of that man. Oh my gosh, he used to get after him.
Yeah.
I remember he used Devo one time, like, because he asked Chance to defend the inbound, and he was like, defend this inbound, and he was like, hey, Devo, won't you do it real quick? And then Devo did it. He's like, you see the difference?
Yeah.
You see the difference? Because, like, Devo's obviously over the top jumping and all that. He's like, that's what we want. That's what we want.
Yeah, he used to give Chance more of the business. Poor kid.
Yeah. I mean, depending on the day, Devo was either his favorite or least favorite. I mean, he was all over the spectrum.
Yeah.
Dude, Devo that way is the same kind of feeling that I think the fans had for Muss too, because it was like some days, oh man, like he's our guy, but then other times you're like, dude, stop being such a turd. Like, stop getting ejected from games. Stop whining so much. Like, you know, is always this thing, but it's like the goods were really good, but man, when the bads got bad,
stop throwing outlet passes behind your back into the fifth row.
Yeah. Jalen Graham too. I mean, Jalen Graham will go out there and score 24 points on 12 of 12 from the field, and he'd be like, he's got a defensive rebound, man.
Jalen finally kind of won Muss over a little bit towards the end there. Not fully, but he hated him that first year he was on campus.
You think he really stayed home from the trip to Rupp to work on his academics?
No, I just meant like he at least
the Bahamas because his back was bothering him. They had to have him. That's what that was. But then they cared less once Mackay figured it out, which was nice. That was big. God, man, we could go through every player that ever played under Muss and have this discussion. They're really surprised that Mackay came back. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember how weird that was. And wasn't he trying to still like get another year of eligibility even this past year? Like,
that's what he said in the locker room. Yeah, in Nashville.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Whatever those players say in the locker room immediately following a game is always true. They're usually
level-headed and like speaking with a clear mind and heart.
He also kind of jumped on Bob in the locker room, which was funny.
Well, I mean, I know we're talking about this, but I'm gonna just be honest. One of the cool things I remember when we were covering the NCAA tournament was when we did not like Trevor Brazile the year he got hurt. Like we didn't never hear from him, and then it was open locker room, and it was just like me and Curtis and Scotty and Bob, and Brazile was right there. So we're like, I guess we'll go talk to him, and like we talked to him and everything, and it was great. And then like, because were you there? I think you were, Curtis, when he was just kind of like, because we asked him if he was coming back, something like that, and he just gave some answer, and then he was kind of like, he's like, yeah, I'll be back next year though. I just didn't want it on record. I was like, cool. Well, dang it, dude! Like, come on, man, killing me. So, but
I hate it when players tell you stuff off air, and you're just like, I got to be cool. I got to be cool. I can't. You know,
you can't. Yeah, you can't kill that insight knowledge and those scoops that you have. But yeah, there's a lot of those moments of locker room, and like when Nick Smith was like Mackay Mitchell like came up to us, he's like, go away, don't come talk to Nick Smith, because he was like crying after that Kansas game. It's pretty crazy stuff sometimes, pretty wild stuff. All right, well, we just got about 10 or so minutes. I mean, let's be honest, we can do whatever we want. But before we do all that, we want to remind everybody that we are brought to you by Hopper Termite and Pest Control here in the Northwest Arkansas and Central Arkansas area. If you're needing rid of all those pests and all those termites, which you do, you need to call Hopper at 479-750-4070. You need to get rid of them. You need to get rid of them now. And they will make sure that they get the job done in the best way possible and eradicate the problem at its core. So don't wait any longer. Stop letting it just be like, they'll go away. They'll move out one day. Like, that's not going to happen. They're still going to come after you. They're still going to try to make your life a living hell. Don't let that happen. By calling Hopper Termite and Pest, they'll take care of it at 479-750-4070. You can use my last name, Neighbors, and you'll get $50 off your very first purchase and treatment. It's as simple as that. You can also check out their website at callhopper.com. But for all your termite and pest problems, call Hopper at 479-750-4070 using promo code Neighbors for $50 off your first treatment. All right, guys. We talked a lot of Razorback football and Razorback goodness today. I did know that we were talking about sometimes when we have a group text, which hopefully never becomes public, but we always talk about things we want to talk about. The Kevin Durant thing. Because I'll be honest, Curtis, when you sent the text, right, we're bringing up Kevin Durant, I was kind of like, oh, he was about his game or whatever. Then I saw on Twitter that it was a little bit more. It was a very Kevin Durant thing that he did.
Except he didn't switch to his burners with him. Yeah, he didn't switch to his burners. 5 a.m. in France, and he's just up letting fans have it, man. I love that his most frequently used word is cornballs. He's just calling everybody cornballs, amongst other things that we probably shouldn't say on this show. But yeah, he was funny, man. And I think he got a little ticked off because he was celebrating and happy, and the Team USA was after winning that game yesterday against Serbia. And so automatically a lot of people were jumping on him saying, oh, congratulations, you guys are supposed to be the dream team. You beat, Serbia by 4 points or whatever. But he's 100% right, man. Like, Olympic basketball is different. That game was awesome. They were dead to rights, man. They were down 17 in the second half of that game, down double digits in the fourth quarter. The comeback was really, really cool. LeBron, Embiid, and KD, the supporting cast for Steph Curry, which was great. But I don't think people understand how hard it is to beat a team 3 times in a row, especially 3 times in 3 weeks, when that team has Jokic on it. And so they beat the hell out of Serbia.
Bogdanovic was hooping, bro.
Yeah, and they just come out there and they're stroking threes, and you got Joker. There's a lot of pressure on you, and that was a big win, and he's just getting heated up for celebrating it. And yeah, KD was not having it. He pulled an all-nighter, just going at it with fans. It was awesome.
That's what he should have done, because that's, I don't know. I remember when it was first a story when he was doing this stuff, like with burner accounts and all that stuff. But now that it's like, I appreciate and respect it, because he's like, yeah, I do that. I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to hide from it.
What was funny about it is, there were a lot of like Nuggets fans that I'm guessing are like American Nuggets fans, but that were just kind of cheering on Jokic. And so he was kind of shaming them for not cheering for their country.
Right.
They kept trying to make it this whole thing. And he's just like, bro, I like Jokic. We all like Jokic. We just don't worship him like you do. Like, he was clarifying where he's like, nah, I ain't got no beef with Jokic. I got beef with you. He's like, I'm just making fun of you. I'm making fun of how y'all. But that's the way it is there's all these, like, I mean, if you're on any Twitter, like NBA Twitter, NFL Twitter, or whatever, all the accounts like will have like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as their profile picture, or Brock Purdy as their, and it's like that's how fan culture is now. It's like these people that idolize their figures, and they just argue all day on the internet about their guys, and it's a very weird way to consume the sport.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, that kind of made me think of a question. Like, if you're an American, you have to root for the United States in the Olympics. Like, you can't root for another team over the United States.
You should.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
it is a strange deal.
Yeah. Well, because I knew, the reason I also brought that up too is because I knew a girl that was in college at the same time I was, and she was really obsessed with Ecuador. I don't know why, but she was literally from like Tennessee. And I think she just really liked the guys from Ecuador. And she was like posting on social media, rooting for Ecuador. And like, it was either the World Cup or the Olympics or something over the United States. And I remember that pissed me off so much. I was like, it's like, why don't you go back to where, get out of here if you don't wish you were from.
Yeah. Hit them with a back to where you're from.
Yeah. It's like, you can go, I don't know what they do over there in Tennessee, but here in Arkansas, by God, we root for the stars and stripes.
We're American.
Which, by the way, if I'm from Cameroon, I hate Joel Embiid with every fiber of my being.
Well, France does.
I mean, yeah, as they probably should. I mean, dude, I don't know. For Joel Embiid and he actually had some good moments yesterday. He made some big buckets down the stretch and everything. But for him to be playing for a team that he probably shouldn't be playing for. I mean, I know he's been in the U.S. for 15, 16 years. But it's like, go help out one of those other teams. And for him to be like kind of a weak link sometimes on this USA team, it's pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. And then he's like vilifying himself. I mean, he's catching a lot of boos, which as you thought he would, because he could have been playing for France. But then just after every win, like, he's given the DX, the suck it. Like, he's doing that to the crowd over and over and playing it up. And now the gold medal game tomorrow, they play France.
Right.
So he's going to be getting heated up. That's going to be fun.
Which, by the way, if Joel Embiid, I'll just say this, if Joel Embiid did play for France and you had Wembanyama, Gobert, and Embiid, that would have, I don't know if USA beats them. I don't know if they score 70 on them, dude. Like,
maybe not. France just had 0 guards.
France, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. Evan Fournier is their only guard, though. It's a very top heavy But you're right. You wouldn't score at the rim. No way.
Yeah. This is not the 1992 world of basketball. Like, the world is caught up. Now, I can understand if it was like American football and we had the NFL All-Stars going up against somebody and they were like close games. Like, that would be a problem. That would be bad. But basketball, man, it's just caught up. And if you watch The Last Dance on Netflix, great stuff, by the way. They talk about how 92 and Michael Jordan was a lot for that reason. I think it was also like China did not give two rips about basketball in the NBA until Yao Ming got there and then just exploded. So
it's crazy how good basketball has gotten around the world, and it is really cool to see. I mean, the NBA. If you look at the top 15 players, 7, 8, 9 of them are international. But yeah, yesterday's game, it reminded me. Curtis, you won't understand what I'm referencing here because you're not a nerd. But the in-game, the Avengers in-game, the portals scene when everyone's coming out of the portals, it felt like that where you had transition layup from LeBron, 3 from Steph Curry, pull-up jumper from Katie. It's like everybody was coming together. It was so awesome to watch it unfold, man. And I thought they were toast. I really did.
It really, it definitely felt that way. And they just overwhelmed them. It was really cool to see with Steph Curry too, because he's getting up there in age for an NBA player, and he hasn't really been very good throughout the course of the Olympics. He's shooting well under 30% from 3 and stuff, and he just went out there and went nuts. And it was cool to see Carmelo Anthony, Team USA Olympic legend, there in the front row, just going nuts the whole time. So that
Carmelo might be a top 3 Team USA contributor of all time, man. He had a great run, but for all these guys, it's probably their last run. Like LeBron's never gonna be play on Olympic team. I would assume he's not. KD probably won't be on the Olympic team in 4 years. Steph, same thing. Like it's kind of the last run for the guys of this era. So it's as a basketball fan, man, it really has been fun, awesome to watch.
And poor Jason Tatum's just handing out water bottles,
His time will come. His time will come. In 4 years.
You think NBA title means more than Olympic medal, right?
Yeah,
it does. I mean, Carmelo is not viewed highly in NBA. You know what I mean? Ask him, would he rather be Carmelo or D Wade?
Yeah. Also, this is totally random, guys, but I have the SEC Network on TV. They just did the best SEC running backs of the past decade. Who do you think number 1 is?
The past decade. So maybe Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry's number 1.
Leonard Fournette up there?
Leonard Fournette's 4th.
Who else has been really good?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by a couple of them. But
how many Bama ones are there? How many non-Bama ones, I guess is what I should say.
There's actually 8 non-Bama.
Georgia's got some guys on there.
Nick Chubb's number 2.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I'll give you Najee Harris is number 3.
Okay.
Alex Collins number 9. So makes sense.
Okay, I mean, he should be on the list. He
should be
very good.
Ralph Webb from Vanderbilt was number 10. I don't even know who that is.
Get the hell out of here, man.
Never heard of him.
Kerryon Johnson's number 8 from Auburn. Isaiah Spiller's number 7 from A&M.
Okay.
Number 6 is Benny Snell Jr.
He was very good at
Kentucky.
Yeah. He had a great year there.
I can't get on board with this. He's a great player. But number 5 is Quinshon Judkins.
What?
Nah, dude.
I can't get on board with that.
He's good. He's good.
Dude, but Alex Collins needs to be top 5 because he is only one of 4 running backs in SEC history to rush for 1,000 yards in the first 3 years. Him and Darren McFadden,
he's the best non-Darren McFadden running back at Arkansas ever, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Unless, maybe Felix or whatever, but it's I think Alex Collins statistically and in real life probably the second best.
Yeah. I mean, because again, people don't realize how tough it is to rush for 1,000 yards in the SEC, and he did it as a true freshman.
And on garbage teams, that first year, or a garbage team, just that one year was bad. But
going 7-5 wasn't exactly setting the world on fire in his final year, but
they
did go 5-3 in SEC play, which is still really stupid. But
they were the Oklahoma State of that year, where they almost won the division, but somehow weren't good. It was weird.
Yeah, I don't know. But I saw that top 10 list. I'm like, I don't know about all that. No, Quinshawn Judkins being up there.
Not even. I mean, also he's still in college football.
Yeah,
and is playing
for
for
in the
State,
SEC.
right?
Yeah,
yeah. That's why I don't know.
His best year as a college running back is not even going to take place in the SEC.
right.
Yeah, because he went to TCU.
No, he went to Ohio State.
Ohio State. That's right. That's right.
He tried to run for 2,200 yards there.
Dude, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Well, guys, you guys have anything else to add? No, we kind of, it's a Friday, and because I did want to. Sorry, real quick, forgot this comment. Wanted to bring this up. Shout out to Kingsley because he says, "Successful first week of the show, fellas. How y'all feeling so far?" That's what he wanted to know.
Feel good.
Feel
great.
I feel good. I'll feel better. Like I feel like we're making progress too. Like we're slowly. I mean, like today you're seeing the the graphics and all that. I know Curtis has been busting his ass on that website, man.
Yes.
And so it's like I feel like we're slowly adding all the pieces.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're getting better and better. And I'm excited for people to be on the journey with us.
This is our fall camp too. Like we're prepping for game day.
Yep.
Whatever that
30%
means for Inside
install.
Arkansas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hoping to get to 40 by next week.
That's right.
Yeah. We're being violent. We're violent right now.
Yeah.
Being violent there. But no, it has been a very busy but really good week. Because again, we've like a lot of the stuff we've done before, but we're still testing out things and trying to get into rhythm of everything. But again, I'd be hard pressed to find anybody else that's putting out more content than what we are right now in the past week.
Truly.
Like I just don't see how it's possible between the Inside Arkansas Live, between the website of all the great articles that are written up there, between our press conferences, between the clip videos that we put up on our YouTube page, between Locked On. Yeah, I'd be hard pressed. So
it's crazy that Locked On, like if that alone could be like our full-time job, doing 2 Locked On shows a day. And it's like, we doing all this on top of it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because I was like, man, I've done like after today with the Inside Arkansas Live, it's like I've done 15 like shows and podcasts this week. Between like it's a good, but it's fun. Like that's what we do. We want to make sure that like we're basically here at Inside Arkansas. You don't need to go anywhere else. That's what it is. Like you don't need to go anywhere else. We got it all. Yeah, we got it all.
Better not.
Yeah, you better not. You better not. But yeah, that's been great. We really appreciate all of y'all that have supported us and continue to support us. And we're gonna keep it going. We're only gonna get better from here and greater from here. And we got a lot of stuff that we want to accomplish and want to do. So be sure to check it all out. Go to the website, InsideArkansas.com. Constant updates there. You can, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel here at Inside Arkansas. And I'm going to do something fun that I'm probably going to fail at miserably, but I'm going to do a breakdown on Sunday of looking back at some of Petrino's most iconic plays as a play caller and breaking down why they worked.
John's getting into the film room.
Mm-hmm, yep. It'll be a film room session. And, like the John Gruden thing that he always would do?
The quarterback camp.
Yeah, the quarterback camp.
That's some of the best stuff I ever read.
Yeah, with him and you get all those quarterbacks and all of them were just like, I don't even know what you're talking about, man. Like, but yeah, so we'll have some fun with that. But we'll do some other creative stuff too. Like again, once the season gets going, we got a lot of stuff and excited about it. But either way, appreciate each and every one of you listening and watching in. For Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, I am John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel next Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you then.